In the months leading up to my wedding in October 2018, I told my bridesmaids that I wanted one thing for my bachelorette party. I wanted to go to a midnight showing of the Tommy Wiseau classic, The Room. I'm not totally sure that the entourage that went with me quite got it. The Room is kind of the gold standard when it comes to good, bad movies. Midnight screenings feature interactive call and response elements a la Rocky Horror. The creator is this eccentric enigma of a guy that no one seems to know anything about.
Hi, this is TW. This is not my house. I was just preparing an egg breakfast. It's not my house. This is not my house.
The film itself is this bizarre psychosexual mess. A film so bad it's good that it launched director Tommy Wiseau into a sort of superstardom, even becoming the subject of the biographical comedy The Disaster Artist, starring the Franco brothers and Seth Rogen. Why? Why has this bloated, clunky, incredibly awkward movie become such a phenomenon? Why are people like me obsessed with these artistic projects that end in nonsensical final products? Let's talk about it.
And all I've got to offer is sensitivity, intelligence, and charm.
I believe that there are three things that make a bad movie good. The movie has to be camp. What does that mean? We'll talk about it in a minute. The movie has to be fun. It can't be boring. And the movie has to be earnest. A good bad movie can't obviously be a cynical cash grab. And it has to come from a place of some sort of passion. Let's talk about camp first. So what is camp, besides something you look directly in the eye? Let's hop back to 1884 Dublin, where a group of young men were brought to trial for indecent acts. A letter was read to the court as evidence, which included the first ever use of camp. The exact phrase used was, "such camp." It was later explained by the author of the letter, Malcolm Johnston, that camp meant proper amusement or improper amusement. Camp was officially added to the Oxford English Dictionary in 1909. With the dictionary's author noting that the term is chiefly used by persons of exceptional want of character. The definition provided being ostentatious, exaggerated, affected, theatrical. Over the years, the idea of camp has morphed into this symbol of queer protest, circa Stonewall to the Section 28 protests in the UK in the 90s. Then eventually into the modern idea of camp as an aesthetic. Today, camp is used to describe something that disrupts artistic value, that rather values bad taste and a sort of ironic enjoyment. So with this history in mind, what makes a bad movie camp? Well, when it comes to camp in film, we have to talk about John Waters.
Zap!
John Waters' first full-length film, Mondo Trasho, was released in 1969. the same year as the Stonewall riots. And he continued to make low-budget, self-described trash up until about 2004. If you've ever seen a John Waters movie, you certainly know that his films grate against modern ideas of art and oftentimes morals.
Filth are my politics. Filth is my life. Take whatever you like. Yes.
His work is the very definition of camp, as both an aesthetic and as a form of protest as a gay man himself. A bad movie becomes camp when it becomes earnestly absurd and in bad taste. 1983's Sleepaway Camp is an explicit ripoff of Friday the 13th that features ridiculous costuming, over-the-top performances, and an ending that continues to make those with traditional sensibilities squirm. It is the perfect example of a bad movie that embraces camp. Literally. The point where a bad movie becomes camp is also the point where it becomes art. The latest boring Blumhouse flop isn't camp. It's just bad. But something like Death Becomes Her, in which Meryl Streep takes an immortality serum to try to live forever with Bruce Willis, certainly is. Number 2, good bad movies can't be boring. What is the key difference between Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 and Freddy vs. Jason? Both could be described as bad movies. Obviously, this is all very subjective. But one of them is entertaining. Freddy vs. Jason is one of my go-to campy bad movies. It's so ridiculous, you just can't look away. It's ridiculous in a way that's consistent and respects its source material. It's self-aware that the entire premise is super silly, and it leans into that hard. I mean, the weed worm, guys. The weed worm.
Nice.
Nightmare on Elm Street 2010, on the other hand, is bland. It takes everything people love about the original Nightmare on Elm Street franchise and smothers it with a pillow. No more puns and quips from Freddy. No more imagination. This movie will kill you in your dreams from boredom. I don't know. I tried to write that like a Rotten Tomatoes reviewer. Did I nail it or did I nail it? A good bad movie can't be boring because if it is, what's the point? The absurdity of a bad movie is what makes it worthwhile. Number 3, a good bad movie has to be earnest. In 2023, Tommy Wiseau released another movie called Big Shark. The comments under the trailer look like this. It's pretty clear that Big Shark is painfully aware of The Room's good, bad, cult classic status and wants to make lightning strike twice. The difference is, The Room was, as far as anyone can tell, a genuine attempt at making a good movie. That's a big part of the charm and appeal. Big Shark, with the history of the room behind it, is tainted by the knowledge that Tommy now knows what people expect of him.
Okay, boys, I'm the referee. Who's ready for a fight? You two, what's your name? Jimmy. What's your name? Tony. I want a good, clean fight. Ready? Yeah. Go!
The Room 2, a purposefully shitty movie. I could be wrong. Maybe Tommy is still blissfully unaware of why his first movie was such a hit. Maybe he's still genuinely trying to make good art. But to me, it reads as a cynical cash grab. You can't make another The Room. The whole thing is kind of ruined. I felt pretty similarly about the whole Sharknado phenomenon about a decade ago. Sci-fi saw that people like bad movies. And they said, hey, let's put out our own factory-made cult classic. I know it worked for some people, but at least for me, Sharknado and its 5 sequels plus a video game felt a bit fake. It's not a passion project gone wrong, like, say, Birdemic. It's self-aware in a way that's different from Freddy vs. Jason. There's no respect for the craft, no heart. A good bad movie needs to have a core. It needs to come from an authentic place of wanting to make art. As soon as it becomes clear that your bad movie just exists to hop on a trend and make major bank, it doesn't work. Last weekend, I had some friends over to watch Sleepaway Camp, that movie I talked about earlier. Sleepaway Camp, aside from being just generally not a well-made film, is also pretty problematic, especially with its attitudes towards the queer community. But I felt comfortable showing this movie to my friends for a couple of reasons. The movie has largely been reclaimed by the queer community. If you want to know what I'm talking about, look it up. There's a million think pieces about it. Because the performances are high camp, because the movie is fun to watch, and because it was clearly made in good faith, dedicated to Mom, a doer, it gets this special label as good bad. So bad it's good. Not to be taken seriously, but still something to enjoy. Especially people in the trans community seem to really love this movie, because it's ridiculous. Bad movies, to me, at least the good ones, occupy this really special place in the zeitgeist that celebrates unrestrained artistic endeavors, no matter how silly, stupid, or absurd. I realize you can't see it. I'm wearing a Sleepaway Camp t-shirt right now. Hi guys! I hope you liked the video. If you did, why not give it a little thumbs up? Why not share it around? Leave a comment. If you want to see more videos like this, you can even subscribe. Can you believe it? If you would like to support the channel, links to my Patreon and some cheeky little merch is in the link tree in the description, and a little thing should be popping up here somewhere right about now. If you didn't like the video, eat shit and die, Ricky. Bye. Number 2, good